Hi there, I'm Spiers, and welcome to another edition of the Summit Scale podcast, beaming out to you from the beautiful city of Bath in the UK. My guest today is Michael Haynes. Michael, a very warm welcome. Great to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Shane. Pleasure to be here.
Brilliant. For those of you that don't know him, Michael is a B2B customer and marketing strategy specialist. His focus and passion is empowering SMEs with the clarity and roadmap to acquire, retain, and grow business customers. He has over 23 years' experience working with companies across a range of industries to develop and implement customer-driven strategies and programs. Michael is based in Sydney, Australia. He's originally from Toronto in Canada, and he currently works with SMEs, startups in Australia, Asia, Canada, the US, and the Middle East. Wow. Michael, the topic of the interview today is driving your SME B2B restart and recovery. And with 10 minutes for the interview, if you're ready, I'll start the clock.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So before we get into it, tell us some more about yourself and your work, what you do, who you work with, and why do you do what you do?
Sure, Shane. So I'm all about, as you said in my intro, it's really about helping, empowering, your SMEs and your startups in terms of how they're going to acquire, retain, and grow those business clients and customers. The world of B2B presents massive opportunities for SMEs, but it's very important that they really understand and know how to navigate that landscape and understanding the dynamics, particularly from a buyer perspective. That's really my focus. And by really educating, informing, and empowering them on what they need to do, it allows them to really take advantage of the massive opportunities to help larger organizations who with their products and services that they offer.
Brilliant. Brilliant, Michael. And for folks, sorry, I had a little technical problem with my video there, but we're back on and running, so thanks for putting up with that. So, Michael, how has the B2B buyer changed in this new environment?
So, great question, Shane. So the B2B buyer, some of the changes we're starting to make before all of this chaos started to ensue. B2B buyers are doing a lot of more self-education, a lot of more research. They're very much risk averse and really wanting to get that roadmap and guidance as to what they need to be doing to take their businesses forward. What has happened over the past few months has really just heightened all of that. So there's a lot more research, a lot more self-education. They're very much doing a lot of decision-making by consensus. Your buying groups, your decision-making is on a larger, more people are involved, and they're really looking for that, what I call that decision maker confidence. So your decision makers, your business buyers are looking for confidence in of themselves to know what decisions to make and what to do, and they are looking at from their service providers. So as a B2B seller now, you have to be that consultant, that advisor to really map through and work with your client to show them how they're going to achieve the objectives that they're after.
Right, brilliant. And so, and what are B2B buyers now ultimately seeking?
B2B buyers, like I said, they're looking for, they want solutions. So they really want solutions to be able to meet their objectives in terms of, in some cases it's growth, more market share, going into new markets. Many of them are trying to restart their own business as well with their end customers. So they're looking for actionable solutions. They want tools and means to get that way forward. They want to also be able to facilitate and get some interaction with some of their peers. They want to know who else is, who else is doing, what are other things happening within their industries, who's doing what and what's working for them. So they're having that interaction and getting some of that peer-to-peer engagement where they can get some ideas and validation. And again, that confidence, that assurance, that clarity as to what exactly they need to do to move forward in this very unprecedented environment that we're now all in.
Right. And what is that? Is that kind of trying to get some certainty and consensus built in an uncertain world?
Absolutely, well said. Yeah, it's try to make some sense of some certainty and just to know how to move forward. Many businesses still have goals in mind. I mean, some of your businesses, if you look at technology sectors, for example, some sectors are doing quite well. Yeah. So they're all about growth and moving forward, but still knowing how to navigate given all the uncertainty. Different industries are at different stages. Different geographic markets are in different stages. Yeah. Some are coming out of lockdown. Some are going back into lockdown. There are ripple effects as a result of the current environment with impacts to supply chain. So how do we navigate? What do we need to do to maintain those ultimate goals that they still have to move forward?
Yeah. And, a lot of businesses I've kind of worked with, the strategic plan went out the window when COVID hit, and there was crisis management for a while. Then it moved into recovery planning and operating in a recovery state. Do SMEs operating in the B2B need to have a strategy?
Having a strategy, Shane, is very, very critical. It's important to give you that clarity and your focus to know, what are your priorities, where are you going to be focusing your resources, in terms of what industries, what markets, and what are the elements that you need to be focusing on around your business, whether it be, your product and service offerings, service and support, is it around logistics? So you need to have that clarity and priorities based on the needs of your industries and your markets. But whereas before, Shane, often, people would look, that horizon 2, horizon 3, 3 to 5 years out. Now it's about looking out maybe 18 to 24 months out. You don't really want to be looking too much further. So you need to have a plan, but it's about being quick, flexible, and adaptable based on the changes as we're moving forward. So having a plan is necessary, but you have to build in that adaptability, that nimbleness as you move forward.
Okay. So that's really, much a shorter time horizon and looking for much more flexibility built into the plan in terms of, I guess, which levers to pull if this happens or this, that type of thing. What else is important for the way SMEs approach strategy in this environment?
I would say it's very much that flexibility, that adaptability. But what that means is that you need to be doing your constant market scanning, or what I call listening. So you need to be in tune with what's going on with your industry. What are the changes? Are there changes in regulations? Are there new technology disruptions? What's going on with your end customers? So you need to be making sure you're continually doing that market scanning. Also, listening and understanding what's going on with your customers. Are their needs changing? Are the decision makers and buyers changing? And be making sure you're constantly listening. And as you're coming across the various changes, in some cases, depending what's changing, you may have to do some scenario analysis to say, well, okay, if there, for example, is an impact to the supply chain, what are the impacts on that? How are you going to respond? What do you need to do? So it's that market scanning, that listening, as well as potentially having to do some scenario analysis. And again, doing that review and reset periodically so that you've got a plan and you're moving forward, but in a very nimble, adaptable way based on what that listening, that environmental scanning is telling you.
Right. Okay. So what's just on that really, how does that listening happen? How does that engagement and listening, and is that a combination of the research, the what's going on in the market? But I suspect conversations with some of these people are really important. New pains, new priorities.
A great question, Shane. So in terms of listening, it's about, very practical approaches. One, definitely talking to your customers and your prospects, talking to your colleagues. There's lots happening online now with virtual events and virtual conferences that your industries and professional associations are having. So you want to be tapping into those, to be listening, to be finding out what's going on. Looking at what are you getting online? So, setting up your Google alerts with your keywords. And so you're getting those articles and white papers. So in a very practical way, really leveraging what is in existence, because we know SMEs, have tight budgets. So this is not about doing massive surveys. It's about leveraging what is out there right now and listening on some of those webinars and those virtual conferences, talking to your colleagues. Often many SMEs are in the mastermind groups, those kinds of things, going to those things, and then really taking in what you're hearing and listening, and then feeding it back into the organization with your core teams to say, what's the impact on business? What do you need to be doing?
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so what are some of the initial steps SMEs should undertake to get going, to get started?
Shane, I think the first thing you need to be doing is to be talking with your key clients and customers and prospects. And I'm talking having a discussion. If you haven't had a discussion in the past, 2 to 4 weeks maximum, you need to start to have those discussions to find out, where are they at? Who are the key decision makers? Are they the same people involved? What are their priorities? What are their challenges? Where they're trying to move forward? So that would be the first step, I think, to take to have a bit of a cross-section of discussions with those key customers, prospects, so you can get a lay of the land as to where some of the priorities need to be. Also having some internal discussions as well, with the core leadership team to understand, okay, well, where are we? We're looking to reset and move forward, or perhaps pursue more growth. So what are some of the priorities and focuses? So those will be some of the two initial steps, and then start to then look at, gathering the relevant kind of information and start to have some planning session to work through, to have an action plan as, what are you going to be doing over, let's say, the next 3 to 6 months, and I would say starting with the next 90 days. What are some of those key priorities and what are those key actions?
Right, okay. Brilliant. And what's the one question I haven't asked that I should be asking you? What would you say that would, in terms of your core message?
What is my core message? I guess my core message is two things. One, you need to be doing that listening, in terms of on those various levels. And it's very important in B2B that you need to be doing it from a buyer perspective. Shane, I come across too many clients that think, oh, customer perspective. So they'll think at an organizational level.
Yeah.
You really need to understand who are those stakeholders, who are the relevant decision makers, and everything that you do, which fundamentally for me is three things: what you deliver, how you promote and engage, must meet the needs of those decision makers that are relevant for your product service offering.
Right. Brilliant stuff, Michael. I could talk all day with this. That's brilliant. Folks, for more resources, check out, and this will be below the video, www.listeninnovategrow.com. Fascinating, Michael. Thank you so much for contribution. Great stuff.
Thank you, Shane. It's been great talking to you and having you on your show.